You've got 3 extra credit options for this chapter, all of them involving measures 1 through 8 of Great Blue Heron, so up to the point where you see that repeat sign. The first option is to play the right-hand part, measures 1 through 8. The second option is to play the left-hand part. And the third option is to play hands together for measures 1 through 8. So let's tackle these in order. For the right-hand part, just a couple of challenges. One is the rhythm of this melody. So if you haven't already had a chance to do the extra credit from the last chapter, now is a really good time just to make sure that the rhythm is completely solid. So you may want to clap and count. You may want to conduct and ta just to make sure you've got that foundation in place. Once you do, then you can begin plotting out all of your notes on the piano keyboard. Now, the other challenge in dealing with the right hand is to keep track of this key signature. So we have 3 flats in the key signature, B flat, E flat, and A flat. And if you're pretty crafty, you probably realize that this piece is in the key of C minor. So B flat, E flat, and A flat, those are the defaults. So you want to keep those front of mind as you are figuring out all of the pitches in this piece. But occasionally, those flats will be negated. So for instance, here we've got a B natural, which is canceling out the B flat in the key signature. However, as soon as you go to the next measure, once you see the next bar line, then the music that follows, everything is restored back to normal. So just assume by default B flat, E flat, and A flat, unless you are specifically instructed otherwise in a particular measure. All right, that's the right hand. Let's go on to the left hand. A few challenges in the left hand. One is we've got some running notes, so passages with consecutive eighth notes. You also have a variety of articulations. So occasionally, actually fairly frequently throughout this piece, you've got these staccato notes, so those are to be played crisp and short. You've got notes underneath slurs. In fact, you've got this notation here, a bunch of notes under a slur, and then that last one you will release a little bit early on it to respect the fact that that is staccato, but it is still connected to the prior note because, excuse me, those notes are underneath a slur. In terms of accidentals, yes, just like the right hand, you're going to be keeping track of B flat, E flat, and A flat as the defaults, but occasionally those might be negated. At other times, you might have a separate accidental involved. So here, the B flat is canceled out to a B natural for that measure, another B natural down here, and here's another more interesting case, an F sharp, which doesn't belong to any of the standard C minor scales, but it's nonetheless kind of an interesting note. Make sure that you observe that. We've got these little symbols down here. I think you saw these in one previous piece, I think in American Crow, actually. Tenuto marks. That just, it's a way of putting a little bit of stress on these notes and making sure that they are sustained for their full value. They're not short, but instead they are allowed to sound for their full duration. Now, when you're putting these two hands together, yes, of course, learn each one on its own. And then you may want to practice really, really slowly, one measure at a time. And one great strategy actually is not to do one measure at a time, but to do one measure plus one note at a time. So that way, perhaps you practice from here to here, do that a bunch. Then you practice from here to there, do that a bunch. So you're not just practicing discrete measures. Instead, you're always kind of interlocking what you've practiced. So here's like the first chunk, then the second chunk has a little bit of overlap with it, the third chunk, and so on. So that's a great strategy. I will share a separate video showing both hands being played together for these measures 1 through 8.